Hello, good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I almost forgot what day it was. Happy Tuesday. And I thought I'd hop on real quick. Natalie Parsons here. And there's something that has been rising over the last few weeks quite steady. And I've been in kind of having quite the inner conversation surrounding this is self-healing and self-care and really tapping into our nervous system and our nurturer. And I'd like to just bring a little bit of life to this dialogue, and I'd love for you to join me. So if you're watching live, please ask questions, and also the replay. I'd love to answer your questions or just simply add on to the conversation. I'm sure you have so much juiciness to share. And so, let's just dive in. And when it comes to self-healing, it's really interesting because as hi Candace. So, as you know, I do a lot of sessions and healing work with others. But what's really, really interesting is that I've been noticing is that people come in, and it's funny because there's sometimes this expectation of, I'm going to receive this session, receive this healing, and that's it. Everything is fixed and everything is solved. And it's really interesting because these sessions and these deep healings are really seeds for you to nurture. And yes, the energy is, transformed, and the energy is shifted after or during the sessions. But in the same time, I always talk about the importance of the person who's receiving to really go into their own inventory of how they hold space for themselves and their self-care. And what's really interesting, I'll give an example of this. I had a session recently with someone, and a beautiful soul in the midst of this huge shift and huge transformation. So she's extremely, she is very spiritual. She has a very strong belief, and her whole entire life, she's a powerful manifester, and so very powerful. I loved working with her. And what was interesting is she's come to this point in her life that, and she's in her 60s, and she's come to this point in her life where she was very concerned and confused because her body all of a sudden is giving these signs, all of these extreme physical signs. And she went to the doctors, and, the doctor said there's nothing wrong with you, and blood work, and there was nothing wrong with her. And, physically that the doctors said. And, there's lots of symptoms like, vertigo, dizziness, some digestive things. And I could feel it was all energy. And so I had, asked her about her practices and her self-care routine and how she really gives back to herself and fills up her cup. And so what was really interesting is, she said, well, I wake up every morning and I do a prayer. And I was like, oh, that's wonderful. That's a great way to begin your day. Hi, Heather, how are you? And so then we continued on, and I realized, it was wonderful and beautiful to give a few moments to that. But then I noticed that there was this mindset there of, how she manifested was to simply ask. And yes, you ask and receive, but there wasn't the follow-up inner internal work that goes alongside that. So there wasn't the breakdown of, you know, inner introspection of what are the beliefs and that I could be letting go of, what are my core values, what actions am I taking in my everyday experiences that are no longer in alignment with my heart, with my soul's purpose. And, you know, she really wanted to change nothing about her day, go about her day exactly the way it was, and create a change within that simply by asking it in prayer. And I said, that's a wonderful place to start. But, you know, and then the other thing that was really neat is that she wasn't understanding what I meant about doing, you know, the work. And she's like, well, I am, you know, eating right. I'm working out. I go to the gym. I do, you know, all of these things. And I said, yeah, that's part of the work, right? Yes, that's part of it. But it's the inner work. It's, you know, our ability to hold space for ourselves, our ability to truly nurture ourselves and really have a look at that mother archetype, you know, that mother within ourselves. How are we truly caring for ourselves? How are we showing up? Are we taking rest when we're tired? Are we, you know, honoring our true feelings? And are you really honoring the truth, you know? Because obviously there was something calling forth in her body. And she wasn't willing to sit and listen. She didn't want to sit and listen every time I went back to the listening. And that was so cool for me because I remember being in that space, right? I remember, you know, it was almost 20 years ago now, in my very early journeys of, you know, being 19, 20, 21, going to these healers and having this belief that it was outside of me and that I would go to this session and my life would be perfect. And it's so, you know, I have to laugh at that because I held that belief for so long. And eventually I realized, you know, I wasn't doing the care and love for myself. I wasn't willing and ready for so many years to really see how my beliefs and my thoughts, my inner conversations really held me back from my breakthrough of transformation and my breakthrough of healing, because our thoughts, every single word is our mantra. And these mantras change us on a cellular level. Every cell in our body is energy. And so, you know, when we get into that, having a session with a healer is a wonderful place to, you know, begin to plant that seed. And then how do you nurture it, you know? And so it took us a lot of conversation and a whole extra hour. And at the end, you know, she was still having a hard time grasping that other work that she had to do. And that's okay, because she will get there and she will get it. And I am so open and so excited to be very patient and to find a way to speak it in her language so that she can better understand it and better experience it. So at least in the session, she was so open to inviting that, you know, that meditation and anchoring that in. So that was really cool. So I'm really looking forward to, you know, seeing how that unfolds over time as I, you know, reach out and check in and see how she's doing, because I'm just so excited to see the unfolding on the journey. Oh, hi, Elena. How are you? And yeah, so that, you know, that self-care piece and that work is just so important. And at the same time, you know, making the time, the most important thing, the most funniest thing that people say to me all the time is, oh, hi, Donna, how are you? is that I don't have time. I don't have time to do this stuff. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here for a Reiki session. That's why I'm here doing this transformational work with you. And I say to them, well, you've invested so much time. Yes, Donna, good day. So much time into yourself by being here with me. And I'd really, I always invite people to invest a little bit more time, 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day, and really put it in your calendar, schedule it in, And it's so important to do that. And the other thing that I'd like to speak to is self-care. Is everyone tells me, when you get into that deep relaxation, I had a big discussion yesterday on the nervous system. I was actually I was doing a trauma session with someone. And so she had recognized that she was stuck in the fight or flight mode, and we were working with the nervous system. And I said, she asked me, oh my God, I could feel, after the session, she was like, I feel it. I feel so different. And her nervous system went back into that relaxation mode. And she's like, how do I keep it there? I said, well, you got to stay relaxed. Obviously, in the world, in so many places that we live, there is so much stimulation around us. We go out into the world, we go grocery shopping or anything we do, we are very overstimulated. And so the more that we can go back into our stillness and even have a meditation practice, spending time in the woods, in the forest, in nature, in the ocean, having a yoga practice, anything, that brings you mindfulness and peace, whatever that looks like for you. I just named a few, but there's so many more. Every time you hold space for that space and for those practices and for that stillness within you, you're really cultivating and nurturing that deep relaxation in your nervous system, and you're connecting to it more and more. So what happens is the more you practice and the more you do it, the more that your body remembers how to engage it more quickly. So that when you are in a grocery store and there's lots of chaos around you and people are bumping into you, you're very, very quickly able to take a deep breath, because breath is your support, is your guide, and go back into that relaxation of your nervous system. But without that practice of going back into your stillness, we don't have access to the full capacity of that tool. So that's the thing, when we hold space for ourselves in these self-care, relaxation, meditative states, we're really, really, elevating our tool. Just like a singer practices singing, a musician practices the guitar. The more they play the guitar, the more they can, go and play and create songs and explore all these different types of music. And it's the same with our practices. And that is so important, such an important space to really hold for self-healing and in this transformational work. And so that is one of, the most important discussions I have with people, is helping them find joy in those practices, helping people really implement that and cultivate that within your everyday life, because it starts with one thing at a time. It doesn't mean that tomorrow you're going to wake up and be the guru meditating on the mountain every day. That life might not be for you. But maybe you might find peace in your own way. You might find stillness in your own way, even if it's 10 minutes every morning going for a walk. Maybe it's sitting with your cat or dog. and simply being there and thinking about how much you love them. Perhaps it's a practice of gratitude or journaling. Journaling's so powerful. Yeah. And really cultivating what that looks like for you in your life. And, oh, hi, Barbara, how are you? And being so patient with yourself as you integrate all these things. And yeah, Donna, you are so grateful. Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing. I know you're very connected to spirit as well. And I'm so happy you love your life. I know, isn't it wonderful? And I'm glad you bring that up, Donna, that you love your life, because I'd like to actually speak to the point. I do too. I really do. But I didn't always. I truly didn't always. It's interesting. I was in really, really dark spaces, you know, and not that long ago, because it comes in ebbs and flows, right? And it was about 4 years ago that I really dipped into this space that I was able to break through, break wide open. And I realized so much through that. And I remember, yeah, you're in the dark too. Pretty much, and that's the cool thing, you know, they say it's the darkest before the dawn, you know? And in that darkness, I just found my light, found a way. And I remember trying so hard, you know, being frustrated. When I started meditating, I was like, oh, I can't do this, or, you know, this is stupid, or all these things. And I had all this judgment, you know, all these things that, yeah, just judgment and conversations that weren't necessarily supportive. And eventually I was able to really sit and witness that and observe that, and to allow that to be my guru and my teacher. Allow the darkness to be my guide, because it's when we are, you know, compressed and compact and being pushed down that we find the strength to push back and to break open and break free. And it is within that energy that is so important. And I'm actually, in the midst of the last couple of days, I've been journaling and writing about that. And I'll probably have a whole other, I'd like to release a whole other talk and video on this, on the emotions and uncomfortable places that we find ourselves that really compact us down and that we can break open. I had a huge realignment with the emotion anger. Yeah, it is now my ally. And so I will be sharing that. So stay tuned for that. I'm so excited to have broken through that, an emotion I fear and I judged and I pushed down and, yeah, labeled, you know. Our ego, so Donna says our ego and judgment stall our gifts and blessings and lessons, messages, I believe. Yeah. Oh, yeah, anger is grief, actually. That's exactly what happened. I was grieving a situation in such deep grief, and it wasn't until I hit the anger that I had the breakthrough and the push to move forward. So yeah, that's so cool. Thank you, Donna. Yeah. So neat. Hi, Jackie. How are you? And yeah, so I'd love to hear, you know, what do you do for self-care? You know, what are the things that nurtures your soul? What are the things that bring you joy? Because it is within the expression of joy and laughter and gratitude and love. Those are the frequencies that we can hold space for. And we have the capacity to hold space for, even if we're feeling the opposite emotions. And that is, you know, those emotions are so fueled with in setting intentions. And so, do you set intention? And what does setting intentions look like for you? You know? And yeah, the other thing that's coming to me, just a moment here, I feel I hear spirit coming through wanting to add a few things. Yeah, yes, our words and our thoughts. And what else do they want to add here? Yeah. So this all-encompassing journey for those of you who are on, I'm assuming everyone in this space is open to their transformation and their healing journey. And it's so interesting because it's one of those things that's ever evolving. As soon as we go through, you know, one thing, another thing arises and opens up. And that's the excitement, because it's not like you're ever going to get there. There is no there. You know, what's there? Where is there? Can't wait till I get there. That doesn't really exist. It's really all about the play, all about the journey. And there is nowhere you're actually getting to, right? Does that make sense? And it's really neat because as we hold space for these transformations, you know, there's so many things to do. I mentioned self-care, right? I mentioned self-healing. And we all, each and every one of us have the capacity to heal. Each and every one of us have intuition. We have inner wisdom. We have so much power. We awaken again and again and again. Yes, you're still awakening, as they say, and I'm honestly just enjoying the ride now. Yes, I know, right, Donna? Wow, it's powerful. So powerful to just enjoy the ride and let go of the control, right? And that's what I hear in what you're saying, Donna, that you've opened up to letting go of that control when you say enjoying the ride. And yeah, so that's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, so let me know where that lands with you. Where are you on your transformational journey? Are you looking for ways to cultivate more stillness in your life? Are you looking to, balance that time between work and family and friends, as well as your self-care? Are you, your Taurus, are you in a space where you are so open and so bliss, and you're simply, finding more and more capacity and more ways on how to hold and transcend those really, really deep emotions? And, there really is no beginning or end. And what's really neat about this transformational journey is it's phases and cycles over and over and over, which I love. And so I always speak to those phases as the womb, transformation, and then rebirth. And you'll hear me speak to those in sessions as well as in my posts, because it's kind of like the process that I help carry people through. Is we begin in the womb stage, when we're co-creating in session. And in that womb stage, if you think about the womb, as women, we have our womb. There's also the womb of our heart. So if you're a man, you also have that energetic womb, right? And so in that womb space, it's all about deeply, deeply going within deeply listening and learning how to listen to yourself. Listen to yourself without the judgment. Listening to yourself, hi Lindsay, how are you? Listening to yourself in the space of openness, love, compassion. And being okay with whatever rises. And simply observing, becoming the witness. And so that's what the womb stage is all about. And then deeply setting intention. Deep, deep, deep intentions, right? And with these deep intentions of that womb stage, to hold space for these deep transformations, it's so beautiful to write them down, sit with them. Those intentions will evolve on your journey, and that's beautiful. You can even have an intention journal, right? I have all sorts of journals. And so within this womb stage, we set those intentions. We go into stillness and we listen. And then we retrieve all this information, and all these beliefs come out, these things. And then as all of this rises, then the next phase of transformation, we go through the transformational phase, right? And so the session, then usually it's the next session, or a few sessions later, depending on how deep you're going in sessions with me, and how long you're working with me, is the transformational part, right? Where we actually are able to look at all of that information. So you've now been cultivating your self-care. You've now are aware of your core beliefs. You're now aware of your limiting beliefs. You're now building your confidence. You're setting intentions. You're loving yourself so, so much at this very moment. You're being open to all that is happening. And then we're transforming. And then holding that space for transformation is a beautiful ride, because then it's about really, really deeply sitting with it all, anchoring deep, deep into those core beliefs, and giving yourself space for integration. And that's what it's about. Because as soon as we hit those awarenesses, it's about giving time and space for that integration, because within the mind, it's so interesting. And I love how science is catching up with the mind. You know, there's studies out there that show the pathways in the brain, and the more we think about a thought, the brain actually carves out this pathway over and over and over. So if you have a belief that you have pressed replay on over and over and over in your mind, that is carved so, so very deep in the mind, right? So, so very deep. And so what happens in that transformational stage is we go and we we're aware of those deep carvings. And what we do is we create new pathways. And that takes time to continue to carve and love and nurture that new pathway in that transformational stage, right? And then what happens is the old pathways, it's interesting because the old pathways actually never leave our brains, which is really interesting. So the old wiring is always there in the background, which is kind of interesting. But what is so cool is that as we carve our new pathways, we create new default settings. They get stronger and stronger the more we practice, which is so cool. And there are moments I catch myself, and it's so cool when it happens that in a moment I'll go back to an old pathway, an old thinking, and I'm like, wait a minute, that is an old pathway. And so I just simply acknowledge it and move on. I sit with it for a moment and see, why it rose, why it went there. Is there something within that belief that I'm still holding on to? I'm like, okay, without the judgment, I say, okay. And I just simply allow it to be, knowing that I have all my new pathways and that I can go to it any time, right? And so it's so cool as we, so that's the transformational stage. And I love supporting people through that stage and really illuminating and really allowing people to really take a good, honest look about with that, right? And then we lead into the phase of rebirth, that rebirthing. So once we've spent time cultivating and carving out those spaces, we then come into that full embodiment. And it's so neat, the transformational stage, I find, is very symbolic of the butterfly as we lead into that rebirthing. If you think about the butterfly, it goes into its cocoon. And what's so neat about the cocoon is if I were to walk up to a butterfly's cocoon, and as it's ready to come out, if I were to take scissors and snip the top of the cocoon, the butterfly would fall out and not be able to fly. It would die. It wouldn't be able to fly, wouldn't be able to feed itself. But the cocoon is created in such that it struggles. It has to really break its wings and really push and work its way out of this cocoon. And within the working out of the cocoon, it is strengthening its muscles, its wings, and it has little muscles in the beautiful wings and the beautiful body of the butterfly. And it works through all these muscles, and it's breaking free, and it finally emerges from the cocoon and is able to fly. And so the rebirthing phase of transformational sessions is all about that, coming right out of that cocoon, which is so, so cool, spreading your wings, right? You're flying now, and you're able to fly with confidence, with courage, with the tools, and with your own support system that you recognize is already within yourself. And you recognize within the session that everything that we've co-created has always been within you. All of the wisdom you ever need is always within you. And so we cultivate that and co-create that in sessions together when we go through these deep healing transformations. Yeah, so I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about transformational sessions and working with me on that deeper level, please let me know. I also do complimentary half an hour connection calls where I just love to connect with you, and you can share a little bit. I'd love to hear about more of how I could support you. You can share a little bit about what you're going through, and in that half an hour, really, I'd really like to support you on whatever that looks like. And those are complimentary. So if you're interested in that, definitely reach out and send me a message, and I'd love to connect. And so, yeah. This is a beautiful, beautiful conversation. Thank you so much. I'd like to read what Donna said too. I cried so much I thought I would not stop. Now I smell so much my face is always sore. Right? And do you know what else with that? I'm a happy crier, Donna. So I still cry so much. I still laugh so much. And and what I've learned within this, the other really cool thing about holding this capacity is what's so beautiful is the more joy and happiness that I feel, and the more elevated and sparkly I feel, what I've noticed is when I'm releasing grief or fear or like any of those uncomfortable emotions, I feel those even more intensely. But now it's interesting because, you know, I have capacity to do so, and the knowing and trust that it is so temporary, which is so cool and so beautiful. I love it, love it, love it. So please, I would love to hear from you, and thank you for joining me on this conversation. I would love to hear from you. If you're not already part of the newsletter, send me a message, send me your email, and I actually do a free monthly meditation. So that would be sent to you every single month and support you on your journey. And I'm always finding more ways to elevate and support us on our journey. So if you are looking for anything in particular, I'd love to hear from you and what I can support you with. I will be doing a poll soon, and I'm in the creation stage of, you know, putting out a few more freebies for everyone. So I'm really excited about that. And you will also see, you'll also see the inspired self is, the logo and the branding is shifting a little bit. I felt very drawn to the domain name of the website will change as well. And so this container will still be, this private Facebook group will still be called Inspired Self, but a lot of the other things will change. But the message is the same. We are still here in support of our spiritual awakening and transformational growth, and all the yummy things and tools that support us on our path. So I wish you a very lovely and happy Tuesday. And I will see you soon. Love you so much. Namaste.